This conference will now be recorded.
First point is your cutover activities. Second point is your catchover activities. Third point is month-end activities. Fourth point is year-end activities. Fifth point is your external audit related activities or support. Point number 6, different type of projects in SAP. Point number 7, okay. And topic wise, important points for interviews. Point number 8, different type of testings. Point number 9, different type of documents prepared by FICO consultants. Point number 10, important tables related to main topics. These 10 topics I want everybody to work out, and that I want everybody to have their own list, their own workings, so that we will be discussing it collectively and we will have clear-cut points listed out in the upcoming sessions. Now, first one, when it comes to cutover activities, I think we have already discussed what is cutover activities at high level, though we have not discussed in detail, but we have talked about what is cutover activity, what you will be doing in the cutover activity. This is basically before the project go live, whatever you do, it is called as your cutover activity. In this cutover activity, you need to make a list. What are all the cutover activities that you do? First point, when you will start your cutover activity. Now, when you talk about cutover activity, you should clearly talk about in what kind of a projects you will get cutover activities. Whether you get cutover activities in implementation project, whether you get cutover activities in rollout project, or you will get cutover activities in support project. If you get in implementation project, what are the cutover activities that are part of in a project? Especially, what are the cutover activities that we will be working on as a FICO consultant? Similarly, on the rollout project, what will be the cutover activity list? On what activities you are going to work as a FICO consultant? If you are talking about support project, on the support project, do we have any cutover activities? If yes, what are those? If no, why we do not have any cutover activities on support project? Similarly, catchover activities. If you talk about catchover activity, what are the catchover activities? When you will perform this catchover activities? What activities you have performed as a catchover activity in your project, or as a FICO consultant, what activities are part of catchover? This list we need to prepare, and whatever the list that we are preparing, we need to make sure you are able to talk about, you are able to explain the list from your point of view. If you are a FICO consultant in your project, if you're talking about these are the cutover activities or these are the catchover activities, what did you do exactly in your projects? What was your role and what did you do it and from where you got the data? These points we have to be very, very clear when it comes to cutover and catchover. Next one is your month-end activities. If you are in any project, whether you are in any implementation project, whether you are in any rollout project or you are in any support project, if you are in an implementation project, there is something called a month-end activity for hypercare support. Once the project is gone live, you will be providing the support as an implementation consultant for the initial period. So initial first month or initial 3 months. In short, for the first month close or for the first quarter close, as an implementation team, you have to provide support to the client or to your customer. If you were part of the initial project, which means initial implementation, you must be part of the initial support because this is mandatory for every project. Implementation team will have to provide the support for the initial period, which is nothing but your hypercare period or hypercare support period. During this hypercare support, what you have done? Because sometimes what people will tell, they will tell, I have not worked on support project. But if you are part of any implementation or if you are part of any rollout project, you must be part of the initial first month closing. As an implementation consultant, you must be part of the first month close. This first month close is nothing but your, what is that first month close called? Hypercare. That is called your hypercare month close. In that hypercare month close, how did you close your first month? Or in short, how your month or how your period is closed during your project or during the project phase? How are you closing your month on a monthly basis? For this, there will be a checklist. When you talk about a checklist, month-end activities contains a big list like opening of a period, closing of a period, maintaining exchange rates, performing depreciation run, foreign currency valuations, doubtful debt provisions, stock provisions, passing outstanding adjustments or prepaid adjustment. These kind of entries will be there, settlement of your internal order, performing assessment cycles, distribution cycle. There will be a list of your month-end activities. First, we need to make a list of month-end activities. Once we make the list of month-end activities, you will get a huge list. Even if you search online, you will get a big list of month-end activities. What you need to do, you need to list out the month-end activities. Against each month-end activity, we need to list out this month-end activity is part of which module. Because we have month-end activities from different modules. From the FI point of view, there is a different list of month-end. From the CO point of view, there is a different list of month-end. From MMST, likewise, for each module wise, there is a list of month-end activities. As a FICO consultant, we must know what are the activities to be performed as month-end. Because this is your responsibility, this is one of your tasks. If you are working in any project, you must be aware of month-end activities. And this month-end activities, once you have the list, you need to make the sequence of month-end activities. The sequence of month-end activities, I mean to say, let's say in your project for a particular client, there are around some 10 or 12 month-end activities like opening of a period, maintaining exchange rate, settlement of orders, assessment cycle, depreciation run, foreign currency valuation, GRIR clearing. Likewise, there are certain list. Now in this list, when somebody is asking you what are your month-end activities in your current project, let's say you told this list. Now you may also be questioned, what is the sequence of your month-end activities? If you tell the list, that is not sufficient. This list, whatever you are telling, make sure you are able to tell the list in the sequential order. Because this month-end activities, when you give this to your client, you have to give it in a sequential order. You will be telling them this is the sequence. First, point number 1, you have to open the period. Point number 2, you need to run the depreciation. Point number 3, you need to maintain exchange rate. Point number 4, you need to perform currency valuation. Point number 5, clear the GRIR accounts. Point number 6, you have to settle the AUC asset. Point number 7, you have to settle assessment distribution, and so on. When you're giving this kind of list, make sure you are able to put them in a sequential order. You're able to put them in a sequential order, or at least you should know what is meaning by the sequential order in month-end activities. Just like that, if you're getting error in step number 2, you're not supposed to go to step number 3, because step number 3 has a dependency on step number 2. Right? So these kind of dependencies we need to understand to make sure whatever the month-end activities that you're talking about are relevant. And if you are able to explain the month-end activities, and if you are not able to explain the sequence of month-end activities, it will give you a negative impression, because we do not know how the other person wants to check our knowledge. The other person may try to check our knowledge in a different way, but we have to be prepared accordingly, because you are representing that you worked on month-end activities. If you worked on month-end activities, what is the sequence of your month-end activities? So this point, most of the people will ignore it, but this is very, very important. Even when you really work in any project, the sequence plays a major role. Next, you have year-end activities. Now, this is also a common activity if you tell that you have any experience. This is also a common activity if you tell that you worked at least for 1 month in SAP FICO, you must be aware of month-end activities. If you have at least 1 year experience, you must be aware of what is year-end activities practically. If your resume is talking about you have experience on SAP FICO, these 4 activities are mandatory. You cannot say that I have no experience or I do not know. If your profile or if your resume talks about some experience, these are mandatory points to be talked, to be discussed from your side in a confident way. Next one, you have, in this year-end activities, normally at the year end, what you will do, you will maintain number ranges. There are certain number ranges which are year specific. When we talk about year specific number ranges, if you take the normal financial accounting document number ranges, in short FBN1, whatever the number range that you maintain, it is year specific. When you maintain the number range, you put number range followed by year, followed by from number to number interval. If you are moving from 1 year to the other year, for the next year, system will not provide any document number range, or system will not allow you to pass any entry unless you create the number ranges. Now, how do you create number ranges during the year-end activity? During the implementation project, during the rollout project, you are creating number ranges manually. But during the year-end, are we going to create a number range manually, or we are going to copy the number ranges?
We will copy the number ranges.
Right? We will be copying the number ranges. So when you copy the number ranges, you have to tell at what stage you copy the number ranges. Now it's easy for us to tell even in your interview. Let's say I am talking about my interview. I am telling that if somebody is asking me what are the year-end activities, obviously everybody will tell number ranges. Now if I am questioned at what stage or on what date, at what time you will be maintaining the number ranges for year-end. Now the answer I give to these kind of questions will reveal whether I really know how to maintain number range in a project or not. Normally, when you will do year end?
At the end of the financial year?
No, next year first week.
Next year first week. So when we are talking about year end activities, are we supposed to perform the year end activities next year first week?
Yeah, Ajay, like usually I guess practically I don't have exposure, but usually I think or last week of year end or.
Let's say we are nearing the year end, assuming that this is 2024, assuming today is 1st January 2024, or let's assume that our fiscal year is July to June. If we assume our fiscal year is July to June, according to July to June cycle, we are on the new fiscal year today, correct?
Correct.
According to July to June fiscal year, we are on current fiscal year. We are on a new fiscal year today. Now, today, will I be posting my regular ongoing business transactions or not?
Yes, we are posting.
today I will be posting my regular ongoing business transactions. Let's say I am doing a sale today, or I'm depositing some amount today, I'm issuing a check today, or I'm doing any activity which is related to current month, which is 1st July 2023. 1st July 2023 transaction is supposed to be booked in July 2023 or June 2023.
July 2023.
If the transaction is related to current date, which is current month, according to our example, current month is new fiscal year as per July to June fiscal year cycle. Considering this, today if I want to record any transaction, I do not want to receive any error. I don't want system to tell me year or period 1 of 2024 is not opened, or number range for 01 or so and so is not maintained. These are common errors in some projects, especially during the year end, because sometimes consultant may forget to create the number ranges, or consultant may forget to update or carry out all the activities that are to be executed during the year end. There are certain activities to be performed after the year end, which means after closing the month for June. There are certain activities to be performed before closing the month of the last month. Let's say if you talk about number ranges we are supposed to create even before you come to the date, which is 1st July, correct? You may be
Means
having
according.
users across the you may be
Yeah,
having
yeah.
the
Go ahead.
users across the globe. Now, any user may be posting from any part of the world. And then what you need to do, you need to ensure all the number ranges are updated well in advance to make sure these kind of errors are not faced by any user on first day of the next fiscal year. So there are certain year-end activities that you will be performing even before you close the year. When we talk about even before you close the year, according to this example, July to June, even before you come to July 1st, maybe before 30th of June, before yesterday, certain activities related to next year must be completed to make sure business will not face any problem, or your client is not suffering from any issues because of year-end activity. Because some data which is related to current year is not activated to the next year will not have to be created any problem. To make sure this, we need to understand, first of all, list of year-end activities we need to have with us. We need to have a year-end checklist. From this year-end checklist, what activities are relevant to client and who is responsible person for each year-end activity. Let's say creation of or extension of or number range maintenance. Who will have to maintain this number range? Is this number range to be maintained by the consultant, or is this number range to be maintained by an end user?
Consultant.
This number range will have to be maintained by consultant. Now you need to open the period also, right? Even before we are coming to 1st of July, if our office is starting at 9 a.m. in the morning, now the users will log in by 9 o'clock. Users will start recording the transaction from 9 o'clock onwards, which means before the 1st July, you need to ensure that period of July 2024 is opened so that the regular day-to-day transactions can be carried out without any interruptions. Clear? Who will have to open this posting period? Is this supposed to be opened by the consultant, or is this supposed to be opened by the end user?
Consultant.
It should be opened by the manager, right? Ajay?
No. The period is always opened by the end user. So end user can be anyone. End user, you may have the entry level user, you may have super user, you may have key user, you may have power user, you may have managerial level user. But net, if somebody you're classifying, you will classify according to two stages. One is the consultant, the other one is user. In short, the client or business. Either end user will have to open the period, or client will have to open the period, or your business will have to open the period. Clearer?
Yeah, yes, Ajay.
Right, so they will have to ensure that the period is opened. Now this checklist will have to be maintained. This checklist will have to be maintained, and for this checklist there must be a user manual. For both your month-end activities and for your year-end activities, you need to have a checklist. For each checklist activity, whatever the activity is relevant to your client, for that we need to maintain the user manual. This user manual will have to be prepared by you as a FICO consultant. And any errors, any issues that they are facing during the year-end activity or during the month-end activity, as a FICO consultant, you need to extend your support. And this month-end related activity errors, this year-end related activity errors will be questioned in your interview. So before we answer those questions, before we talk about those questions, first we need to understand what is the list of month-end, what is the list of year-end. Okay, so there will be a list. This is a general list that you get everywhere. Even if you Google it, you will get the list. But we need to ensure the list is prepared in a sequential order. We understand what you are doing in that particular activity, what will happen by this activity. Is there any financial impact or there is no financial impact? If there is any financial impact, what accounting entry system is going to pass? And especially when you talk about month-end activities, one point that is to be remembered here is everybody will specifically ask what are the month-end activities related to CO module or controlling module. People, irrespective of your experience on controlling, but they at least want to know whether you are aware of month-end activities to be performed from the controlling module or not. To make sure that you are able to explain the month-end activities from the controlling module, we need to have a list. When somebody is asking about month-end activities from the controlling module, they are specifically talking about product costing related, material ledger related, and COPA related month-end activities. Because in most of the clients, in most of the projects, product costing, material ledger, COPA, which means profitability analysis, may be in use or may be implemented. They do not want you to implement product costing. They do not want you to implement material ledger. They do not want you to implement COPA, but at least they want you to know about these month-end activities in the sequential order, because these are always in the sequential order. Okay, this order, these activities related to CO, we must know in the sequential order. And what will happen in this? At least these basic points are mandatory from the CO, from the CO month-end activities point of view. There are certain points which we are not supposed to take it easy, especially when you're preparing for interview. These are the mandatory topic, mandatory checklist that must be in your mind. Whether you know how this is working practically in SAP FICO or not is always a secondary. Primary point is to make sure you have the list of activities that are performed in each of these points and what will happen with this at a generic note. When I say at a generic note, when you talk about something related to year-end activity, I must be convinced with what you're talking about. Let's say you are telling number ranges will be maintained. If I tell who will maintain number range, then you have to tell that consultant will maintain number range. When you will maintain number range? Before approaching the first day of the fiscal year, or after first day of the fiscal year, or on first day of a fiscal year? If your answer is anytime we can maintain, then I got my opinion. So these small points, because we normally do not pay attention at these levels. These are the small minute points where we all tend to commit mistakes. I am also no exception to it. I also commit mistakes in these areas, because these are all the small simple basic areas which we do not focus much, because these things will occur either monthly if you're talking about month-end activities, yearly once if you're talking about year-end activities, only when you work in a project if you talk about catchover activities. But irrespective of your experience, irrespective of your past, you must be aware of this list in a sequential order, in a proper way, so that when you talk about these points, the other person, whoever it is, whether it is your friend, whether it is your interviewer, whether it is your client, whether it is your colleague, whether it is anybody else, will have to say yes, what you said is correct. Forget whether they are going to judge your knowledge or not is secondary, but what you talk should always be correct. If somebody is telling no, this is wrong, make sure you have your valid justification to tell on what basis you are telling these points you have mentioned. Most of the times what will happen, we will tell something, the moment the other person tells no, you're wrong, this is not correct, we will not do it in this way, we will go silent or we will keep quiet. Correct? And that is where you are supposed to project your confidence that no, I know this because of these reasons or because of these points, this is how we will use it, or in my previous project, according to my knowledge, this is how it is used. But you need to make sure you are projecting your confidence level when you're talking about these areas, because these are majorly theoretical points that you have to prepare for your interview rather than practical points. Because these are all theoretical questions, they are only going to judge based on your explanation whether you have knowledge or not. These are not related to your configurations. Nobody will tell me the configuration of cutover activities, because for this list there is no config. These are not config, these are the generic tasks to be performed by a FICO consultant. After year-end activities, if we talk about external audit related services or external audit related support, if you are working as a FICO consultant, this point is very important, because a lot of people will tell what is external audit if this question is asked in the interview. Because if you are working as a FICO consultant, if you have at least 1 year of experience in SAP FICO, you must be aware of what is external audit. You must be aware of what is external audit. Here, one activity every FICO consultant will do if they work on any one project. If they work on any one project, whether it is a support, implementation, rollout, anything in any environment, ECC, S4HANA or anything, when external audit is happening for any organization, so you will have the external auditors coming and sitting in your organization, which means at your client place, they will be evaluating the business transactions in a different way. Your external auditing will have a checklist. So they will be validating different data, they will be taking different samples. During this external audit, your client requires support from you as a finance person. Forget about a FICO consultant, they want you to support them as a finance person, because FICO consultant must be aware of finance, accounting. They require your support towards the year-end auditing in every project. First point, the mandatory checklist that your auditor requires from the system is complete a transaction dump for the year. Correct? First thing that they require, which means from the auditing side, is the complete transaction dump. When you're talking about complete transaction dump, I will say I am on year 2023. Let's say fiscal year 2023 is closed. We are at the fiscal year 2024. We have the external auditors sitting at our office. Now they are asking me to provide the complete transaction dump of 2023. In general, in a month, on an average, how many accounting documents will be posted? On an average, if you take any mid-sized company, 100 documents on a monthly basis, or more than 100? On an average,
More than
how many
100.
documents will be posted on a monthly basis?
More than 100.
More than 100, sir.
More than 100. In short, the number will be in thousands. Correct? In short, number will be in thousands. No surprise, one client may post 1 lakh records or 1 lakh transactions in a month. Correct? Anybody saw?
Yes, sir.
There may be
Yes.
1 lakh transactions in a month.
Yes,
Now,
sir.
assuming you have 1 lakh transactions in a month, or assuming you have 50,000 transactions in a month. Now, if your client is asking for the completed transaction listing for the fiscal year 2023, in short, the last fiscal year, you need to make sure this complete year transaction dump cannot be extracted from the front end reports. This cannot be extracted from the front end report, which means if you go to FHELL03 or any transaction report, you will not be able to get the data, because every report will give you a runtime error, because there is a huge transaction data or there is a huge volume. It cannot be extracted from the front end. Your user does not want to extract this based on the account wise, because you may be having 500 GL accounts. For 500 GL accounts, if you want to extract 1 year transaction listing, it will take huge time, which they do not want to do it. What they will do, they will send a support ticket, or they will ask the SAP consulting team to provide the transaction listing for previous year 2023. As a FICO consultant, you need to extract the complete transaction dump for the last fiscal year and share it with your client. This data cannot be shared over an email because this is huge in size. The sheet that you prepare for your year-end or the yearly transaction listing is very huge. So you cannot put this list, you cannot put this transaction dump in single email. So what you are going to do
So,
now, if you tell that you worked on these areas, if you say that you worked on these areas, you may be getting this kind of a simple silly questions. How did you share your transaction dump to your client?
sir, in this condition, we save the file in the share drive and share the link with our client.
Correct. All right. Option number one, you will be sharing it in the, you will be placing the files in a share folder, and you will be giving the access to the client on the share folder, or your client will create a share folder. They will give you the access to place the file or place the data in that folder. Option number two, you can transfer the file using AnyDesk or certain internal communication applications, or you can also share the data using Microsoft Teams. But never tell you shared it over an email, because on an email your yearly data cannot be sent. Even if you zip it, you cannot send it. So these minute simple points will create a problem if you are not confident. Yeah.
Ajay, one question I have, like they will ask what kind of data, like vendor data, customer data, all these things.
Complete
As a classified.
transaction list. Whatever the accounting that is posted, whatever the entry posted in your financials, the completed transaction listing will have to be provided. If you post any account, if you post any entry to your customer account, vendor account, material account, GL account, asset account, it will trigger an accounting document.
Yes.
So all the accounting documents are required. First of all, from where you will get it, from which table you are going to extract the data. Do you require any specific format? How did you extract this data? So if you are working on ECC versions, you will be extracting the data from Fagel Flexa table. If you are working on S4HANA environment, you will be extracting the data from AC Doka table. So these tables also will play a crucial role. So we will take certain tables lightly, but these tables will also help you a lot in your interviews. Okay, especially this particular point you need to explain in your interview, that data extraction for the financial entries that are posted during the fiscal year is a mandatory point to be discussed in your interview, or mandatory point to be supported from your side as a FICO consultant in every project. Next one, there are certain reports that are not available in SAP. There are certain reports that are not available in SAP, or there are certain things that are not developed in your client. Let's say your client wants to know the material movement history. If your client wants to know material movement history or inventory movement, if you're talking about inventory movement, your client wants to know what is your opening stock at the beginning of the year, what is the closing stock at the end of the year. Is this called your material movement? Correct? At the beginning of my fiscal year, what was my opening stock, and at the end of the fiscal year, what is my closing? I will say 1000. If my closing stock, I will say 1100. How did this 1000 become 1100? Now you are going to have opening stock plus receipts minus issues is your closing stock, correct?
Yes, sir.
Now your auditing company or your external auditor requires this breakup. Give me the list of your opening stock and the material wise breakup. Give me the list of your movement between the year, movement during the year. Let's say how many receipts you have passed during the year. Give me the list of all your receipts. How many issues you have done. Issues in the sense how many materials you have consumed. In short, the consumption. and what is your closing stock. This breakup they want. If there are any such reports developed in your project, you will have to ask your client to run this report and then give it. Now remember, all these reports are validated against your GL account numbers. All these numbers, whatever we provide, are validated against the GL account number, which means if you are giving opening stock is somewhere around 1000, your auditor will go to your balance sheet. Auditor will go to balance sheet. Your auditor will look at the balance sheet closing stock, because in the balance sheet you are going to represent closing stock. In short, the stock value, inventory value. This inventory value he needs the breakup material wise. Now if your client is aware and then he is able to provide, no problem. If your client is not aware, he is unable to extract the breakup, he will send a support ticket to you. They'll tell this is part of year-end audit, or this information is requested by the auditor. This is very important. Please treat this as very high priority. No surprise, you will have to work on it. Your project manager or your lead might tell you, please put all other work on hold. Work on this activity on priority. Please provide this information to them at the earliest. First of all, we have to understand how this information is to be taken out from the system. Correct? Likewise, different activities that are to be executed, that are to be performed during year end, especially during the external audit, you have to be aware of. If you are aware of these activities, if you are aware of this list, you can openly tell in your interview, these are the things that you worked during your project. If you talk about these projects, you will sound practical. If you're talking about these points, you will be sounding practical. Even if they ask a cross question, you will be able to answer. So these are the points that you have to keep in your mind. You need to make sure you are remembering these points in such a way that you are able to explain it confidently to the other person. It's not about by hearting, it's about remembering the points in such a way that you are able to explain and you are able to convince the other person. Clear? Next one, you have different type of projects in SAP. When you talk about projects, we will be majorly talking about implementation project, rollout project, support project. If you're talking about implementation project, if you're talking from ECC perspective, you have only one implementation project. If you're talking from S4HANA point of view, you may have different implementation project. Like I may say greenfield implementation, I may say brownfield implementation, I may say bluefield implementation. I may be talking about a different kind of implementations. Though everything is an implementation, but there are slight differences in this. These small differences we need to catch, and then we have to be in a position to explain to the interviewer in a convincing way. Okay, this is about your projects. Next one, topic wise important points for your interview. When you talk about topic wise important points for your interview, first you need to segregate what topics are there in SAP FICO. When we talk about what topics are there in SAP FICO, we are not supposed to go based on the configurations. You are supposed to go based on the business process. You're supposed to go based on the business process. If you're talking about GL, in GL, what will be there? What normally you do in GL? If you talk about AP, what is there in AP? What you will do in accounts payable? Similarly, AR, asset accounting, taxation, integrations, what you will do, what kind of business processes are possible, what might be questions that you may be expecting from your interviewer. If you talk about banking, if you talk about APP, from automatic payment program, what can be asked? Similarly, if you're talking about BRS, first of all, what is BRS? How BRS is performed? What they can ask me about BRS? If you list out like this, and if you're able to list out the points about BRS, they might ask me accounting entries. Do I know accounting entries? Yes. They might ask me config. Do I know config? Yes. They might ask me, where do you post the statement? Do I know how BRS is posted? Yes. If they ask me, what kind of errors do you get in BRS? Did I face any errors during my practice? If yes, what errors came? How did I resolve it? Right? From where your BRS data will get stored. Do I know where the BRS data is getting stored? If I need to delete the statement, from where I will be deleting the statement? How system knows that this bank statement relates to this account? All these connecting points, if you put one topic and then if you start thinking, you will be able to write all the points. Majority of the points we will be able to write our own. Remember, the same points, the same questions you will be questioned in your interview, but it is about how you are looking at that particular topic. Clear? Next one, different type of testings. Normally when you are working in any project, you have to do testing. Anything that you are working, anything that you are configuring, any functionality that you are adding newly will have to be tested from your side as a functional consultant. As a functional consultant, what kind of testings you will be involved? First of all, what kind of testings do we have? If you talk about unit testing, integration testing, user acceptance testing, regression testing, or different other testings, what are these testings? Why we will do this testing? What happens in this testing? Do we prepare any document? If yes, what is that document? These points you need to be aware of. Next one, different type of documents prepared by FICO consultant. If you are working as a FICO consultant, what are the possible documents that you will be preparing? What are the possible documents that you will be preparing? You may be preparing business blueprint. You may be preparing BPML document, you may be preparing KDS document, you may be preparing business requirement document, you may be preparing functional specification document, you may be preparing your unit testing document, UAT document, configuration document, user manual, right? RCA, root cause analysis document. What are these documents and how you will be preparing these documents? Clear? And the last one is your tables related to main topics. If you talk about tables related to main topic, first of all, you need to again segregate based on the important topics. If you're talking about a GL, from the GL module, what are the tables? If I want to look at a GL document or a GL account number, what are the tables related to GL account numbers? Which means GL account number. First of all, GL account numbers contains how many segment? Chart of account segment, company code segment. In which table chart of account segment is stored? In which table company code segment is stored? Similarly, GL documents. Once a document is posted, in how many tables this data will get stored? Like your BSEC, BKPF, BSET, BSAD, BSID, BSAK, BSIK, ACDOCA, FAGLFlexa, FAGLFlexT, ACDocP. All these kind of tables you must be aware of. Which table is used at what stage for what purpose? Similarly, certain important configuration related tables. For example, all the account determination related tables you must be aware of. When we talk about account determination tables, for example, if you talk about simple discount related things, discount GL account is coming from configuration. Similarly, reconciliation GL account. Reconciliation GL account is also coming from configuration. Or your special GL transaction, your tax related GL account, asset accounting related GL accounts, withholding tax related GL account, integration GL account, SD integration GL account, HR integrated GL accounts. First of all, what is account determination? Where and all we are going to perform this account determination, and how these GL accounts are maintained, in which T code these GL accounts are maintained, in which table this GL account are stored. This is very, very important. Right? Likewise, we need to know, and also certain tables for the master data. Like if you talk about asset, in which table fixed asset data will get stored. For example, in every asset master, you are going to assign cost center. Assignment of cost center for every asset master is mandatory. If I give you a list of 1000 assets and I want you to give me the cost center assigned to these 1000 assets, which table do you refer? How do you extract the asset wise cost center? So reports are not going to help you for this kind of requirement. We have to depend on the table. right? So like this, small points, if you are able to list out, so on our own we can list out all these points. This is nothing but which is going to help you for your interview from your side only. You don't have to depend on any sources like Google or any other sources. We can sit and then list out topic wise points. Remember the same points in the similar way you will be questioned in your interview. Clear? But we need to make sure we are all putting our efforts collectively. We are all putting our efforts collectively. I want everybody to work on these areas so that we will be spending some time on this. We will be making the documents, we will be making the questions, we will be deciding the answers on our own. When I say on our own, when somebody is asking you, you should not sound like you're reading from somewhere. When somebody is questioning you, make sure you're not sounding like you're reading from somewhere or you by-hearted it or somebody told you something, you're telling me something. It should be like you're talking from your experience, you're talking in a casual way. If you talk to me casually, in that same casual tone, you have to explain these points. Because the way you talk, the way you explain matters a lot, especially in your interviews. Because most of the times, people will talk as if they by-hearted the things. But instead, you should talk as if you worked on this. You should talk as if you're good at the subject. Clear? What needs to be done from your side? Is it clear? You just need to
Yes,
put
sir.
whatever is possible from your side. If you are able to list out only 2 activities, put only 2 activities. That is fine. There is no rule. This is not a competition exam that you have to put maximum from your side. Whatever is possible from your side, you put an effort from your side. I just want you to make an effort so that it is easy for us to discuss collectively. When we discuss this collectively, that will make more meaningful. So that you will be sharing what is there in your mind. I will be sharing what you need to talk, what points you are not supposed to talk. Clear?
Yes, sir.
Clear, right? All right. Let me stop this.